All right, hello, hello, hello. How's it going there, Rasmus? Good to see you. Good to see you. Sure, that's good. All right. So let's continue working on the helicopter here. I would like to do some career, but I also want to get this kind of keep working on this. Making good progress on this helicopter. Kind of want to get wrapped up so I have some more modules for such things. But everything's been working really well with this. Screens. Eventually, what I want to do is I started getting into Lua. Made a new autopilot screen. That's going to go in here, a bunch of other stuff. But I want to work on a bunch of screens in Lua. I haven't got them all done or even really started yet. But I want to do that at some point. And then I would like to replace. I like Basilicious's stuff a lot, but I would like to make it all my stuff. So eventually like to get that done. So that's a down the road thing. Some of the Lewis stuff I can definitely work on at work. So I'm sitting around doing nothing in a hotel I can do. And so that way, kind of don't want to spend my time at home doing Lua because I can always do that at work. Is there a flat plane? I don't think there's a flat plane. No, for some reason I thought there was a flat plane. There isn't. Put that there. I could do that. So yeah, I don't want to work on Lua too much when I'm at home. You know, if I feel like doing it, I'll do it. But that's good there. And then let's do. Where the hell's that gonna have to be? Probably let's do this. Would be the easiest way to get that to sit. I hate flipping these 900 times. There we go. There we go. All right. That's not going to be able to touch that at all, huh? Even on... Okay, it's back on the inside. I need it on the outside again. God, I hate spinning these. I really do. There we go. That's not going to do it even on that, on the outside face. Okay. All right, let's see what I want to do, huh? So I'm thinking, at least for now, I'll do Basilicious's gauges. So I need to bring in my edit of that. I should be able to shrink those up again. This is a great thing with the new update. So let's go ahead. Did I actually do anything to this? I don't think I did. No, I didn't do anything. So let's go ahead and just open those up. Now here's Basilicious's gauge is my edit. And then eventually, like I said, I'll try to go and I want to make all my own stuff. I'd like to eventually have it so it's all my stuff. I don't like using anybody else's stuff. But what we can do now is a lot of the stuff, as you can see, it's like video and physics sensor. Well, bingo, look at that. Because of the new update. That shit is awesome. Because of the new updates. The new update's fantastic. I think this is going to come into play a lot with that, where like this one shrinks up one. And you see how quickly we can start to, these can be outside. These are just reading out, so that's fine. And then we'll just do that. Make sure that still has the right. Yeah, that's fine because those are all reads in there. So if you look, these are all reading out here. That's fine. That doesn't need to actually not be like that, so that's fine. But you can see like how much of an impact this is going to have on the game. The ability to just decrease the space that everything takes is really fantastic update. It just allows you to put so much more stuff in the builds. You see how much that shrunk that up. That's really great. All right. All right, so let's save this. It's today 2. Yeah. All right, good. Yes, I don't do anything in the plane. I'll spend a lot of hot time in hotels though, so stuff all done in hotels. 20 hours in a hotel is I could play some stormworks in the hotel, but generally it's easier to small screen, kind of annoying moving around in the editor, where it's much better to just you know, I can do Lua though pretty easily sitting in a hotel. All right, good. So the screens are in there. We need a physics sensor. We'll find a home for that. I need to change this up a little bit. Let's do this here right quick. Let's do need to stop going back and doing other shit before I finish what I'm trying to do. But you know how that goes. All right, that's good. So I moved all that around so I get a physics sensor in where I wanted it. Right there is fine. Or there. Actually, well, yeah, we'll put it in there. Listen, grab the red line. There you go. Right there. Yeah, I know it's a joke. I'm just, yeah. Yeah, I know it's a joke. I'll show you. Where the hell do we want to put that? Could go right here if there was an extra space, but I don't want it hitting there and colliding. That would be goofy. Doesn't have to be symmetrical. It can be in one of the nacelles. You kind of want it out of the slipstream the best you can for the rotor, but I don't really care. Alright, then this is well packaged, especially them being small. So we start putting some microcontrols away, will help. But yeah, like you can see how just so much more compact now with the new update yesterday. It's really fantastic. Right. So engine, these are gonna go. So one thing I'm trying to do is, I talked about it yesterday, is make more modular parts, so like microcontrollers and actually like engine modules that I can much more easily make vehicles where it's like I don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. And so I'm trying to come up with like my new standards and how I want the stuff done in that way. Makes it just so much quicker, so I don't have to like. So I don't have a ton of gameplay time, so I can make vehicles much more quickly, and especially if I'm doing challenges and stuff. I can get into challenges that I otherwise would not been able to do just because I don't have the time. I'm like, I already have a bunch of stuff pre-done, and then it's been my goal to not use anybody's anything for a long time. So eventually, I wanted to get to that point where everything is mine. All right, this one's big. Where is that gonna have to go? Yeah. Gyro is a menace. Yeah, it's best to always, anything that's gonna slide when you hit the brakes to not have near you. Uh, that's close to fitting. What are we talking size-wise here? I gotta count blocks. 1, 2, 3 by 3. 3 by 3 is probably not gonna cut it. 1, 2, 3 by 3, but that will give me space for something else. That's a little bit more, but not a ton of space extra. And where was that physics sensor I probably just deleted? There's that. Okay, that was good. That was the last block I just deleted, so that's good. Alright, good. So we got some good space in here. That is 3 by 3. So it won't fit this, because this is a 5-banger, but it will fit some of the stuff that I've got in the way here, so. Like this will probably be able to fit in there. Alright, turn these sideways. So yeah, like I made a turboprop mod, or started working on my turboprop module, and that And so like that's hopefully I'll be able to slip that in, and then as many turboprops that I want, just you kind of stack them together. So I need to make ICASs and a bunch of other things to really make that work for me. God damn it. Symmetry, the fucking bane of my existence half the time, I'm telling you. All right. All right, there we go. All right, we got 3x3. What do we got? This one's long. That's it's a 4x2. That can be changed up into a 3x2. I just have to redo some nodes. Yeah, it's not bad there. There's one already under there. Yep. This is going to be kind of my, if I need to add anything. So that's helpful. Available RPS. What? Okay, this is going to right there. All right. So kind of leaving a bunch open on this in case I need it. That can be kind of my cleanup panel. All right, not too shabby. Plenty of space for these two. It's a 3x2s, or yeah, two 3x2s there, so those will fit there. It's gonna show here with that. Crap. No, I put it in front. Okay, that's good. Eventually I'll know what I'm doing here. Not good. Those clean up well, and then these are easily can just be turned on their side and go into the connection point there. Door controllers are easy to hide. I got plenty of space for those still. And then door controllers can really go anywhere. Alright, good. They go there. And then I can make my door controllers even smaller if I use panels, which one of the other door controllers uses, because again, that stacks into 1x's. So like if I'm really hurting for space, I could like switch it over to that. So that's good. All right, very nice. That's cleaned up. All right, we need a gear panel on here. Let's do that. Go for a quick light here. I need to do a lighting panel at some point. All right. I took a bunch of the fuel out. I'm gonna fix that. I might go to one door anyway and then add an arm panel here. There's some more stuff there, but I haven't decided yet. Got some space if we need it. Okay. Alright, why are these not on? Oh, I moved a bunch of the nodes. I didn't reconnect them, that's why. Alright, let's go to the video nodes. So a bunch of the video nodes I moved. That is altimeter. VSI. Heading indicator. And airspeed indicator. Anything else that got disconnected when I moved stuff around? I don't think so. Yeah, what's that? That's touchscreen artificial horizon. What's that? That is physics sense. Yeah, those got moved, so. And those should all be physics sensors. Alright, that's good. Alright. And then physics sensor got plumbed in? It did, alright. Hello, CG. I love the new update. The new update's fantastic. We were just talking about it, how much it can miniaturize microcontrollers, which, especially for smaller builds, it's absolute pain to be able to put stuff away. So I'm super excited because it's like, I love making small stuff like small cars and stuff because they can fit in other vehicles, and I think that's a fantastic thing. And so when you can make it so that stuff fits, that's fantastic. And so I'm really excited about that. Yeah, but I think it's a fantastic addition. Anything that can miniaturize parts, as far as I'm concerned, is awesome. You know, it's just, it really makes it so that you can build what you want to build. And that was like, you know, I think it was a fine idea by the devs when they made it so that the different clutches had torque limits so that you needed a bigger, not clutches, gearboxes would break. But the problem was, it's not really feasible because, for example, like, one, it makes the game too hard, I think, for newer players who don't understand some of the mechanics to do. But then, like, for example, this helicopter would have so much torque, you would need a large gearbox, and it would ruin the look. And that's where I think those sorts of things fail. So I still think it's good they're in the game for aesthetic reasons, the different gearboxes. But I don't think it was a great... it didn't work well in game, and so... it was one of those things, like, it's a good idea at the time, didn't work. Like, you could say something like, if you're constantly slipping a clutch, your clutch will wear out. I think that's a good idea. It brings realism to the game, but again, then it ruins a lot of builds that people are doing where they're glitching and stuff like that, where as much as, yeah, I would love it if things were more realistic. I think it hampers gameplay, and so some of those things are great ideas, and then they kind of fall flat. But something like this, where you can really go in there and miniaturize microcontrollers, lets you build what you want. So, like, for example, I would absolutely love an update where they make a clutch that's 1x1, because the 2x1 clutch, all it really does is take up space. And like, if you looked at the old gearboxes were 2x2, so they were took up 4 blocks, and the new ones take up 1 block, the small ones. And so I think that was a great change the devs did. So like, they could depreciate the old clutches, make it look the same, and just make it a 1 block clutch, and that would be a huge addition. Because, like, for example, on my generators, I have 2 generators. Each generator has 1 clutch, 1 gearbox, and 1 generator. So right there, that is 4 blocks. So I have 8 blocks in my engine bay taken up for my 2 generators. Where if you could you'd cut that down by 2, so you'd be down to 6 blocks. If you were able to, get those 1x1s, which would be fantastic. All right, so that's good. That's up and running. Let's get that back. Let's make a save of this. Yeah, but I think it was a really great addition that they did, And I think they're definitely moving in the right direction. You see they're kind of cleaning some of these things up that have been requests and that are adding to playability. I think that's fantastic. That's a huge thing. That's something that I really want to see them do. All right, so this is saved up again. Let me see. Did I save it? I saved over it. I should have. I was going to do a new date, but that's fine. We'll save that. It's fine. Let's see what we want to do here. Making a couple modules would be fun. I need to gear. So one thing, I'm trying to decide the interlink. So right now I have an interlink button. Let's look at that. I need a space for my gear. Flight idle, interlink. I could get rid of flight idle and interlink altogether. I think I'll do that. Because, like, if you want to save some fuel while you're on the ground, shut an engine down, or shut both engines down. Let's do that. So we're going to, okay, I changed where everything is, so I got to find it again. So let's do that. That will save some space. So we have, so right here, this is where the flight idle, ground idle is here. And so it's either 3 or 9. So what I think I'm going to do is make it 9. Let's actually go back and count out panels before I rip stuff out. All right, so we have our 6-pack. Eventually, I'm going to get back into Lua, and I want to make my own PFD. And so let's look at the PFD of the plane I fly. And so there's a lot of information on there, and it really makes it quite compact. I can't imagine that I'm not going to have to do some of the trickery where I go in there and do, a camera looking at a panel, just space-wise, knowing 100% that I'm going to have to do that. But, like, looking at this here, there's just a lot of information in this. And so, for example, you have your speed tape over here on the left. It's showing your speed. So this is going to show your speed. That shows your altitude. That shows your vertical speed. That shows your compass there. You have your set speed with your bug. You have your set heading with your heading bug there. You have your radio altimeter here. You have your altimeter setting. You have your set altitude for your autopilot is right here. This is your heading bug down here on the compass. You have what mode you're on FMS, you have the course you're currently, how many miles, and what's the name of the next waypoint. I don't need all of this, but ideally, at least the top stuff I would like on the panel, and so need an attitude indicator, altitude tape, and speed tape. I want to be able to put in the altitude set that's currently on my autopilot panel. If I can get that off my autopilot panel, and if I can get heading off my autopilot panel, that would be a huge help. If we could get vertical speed on there, that would be also great. Even if it was just a digital readout, that would be helpful. So something like that I would like to eventually get. And if I could get it on a 1x2, so essentially like most of this on the top part of the panel and then most of this on the bottom part of the panel, I think that would be better. Yeah. That's something I would like to work on, but God, it's going to take a while. All right, so let's count out. So we have the 6-pack. Then we need my autopilot. I need to make a new bearing panel, which, yeah, so autopilot panel, bearing panel. So this will be navigation over here. I need engine information. So this is the thought. I still don't have RPS reading out of the turbines, which I probably should have. Again, that's something I could do on... We could take a break here and try to start working on ICAS panel, but God, that's going to be annoying. So, like, I just closed it. Let me see if I can bring up my... Yeah, so let's bring this up here. So this is, like, some other things that are in my plane where... this is all your main engine instrument here, and so you have the N1 of both turbines, you have the ITT, the interstage turbine temperature, you have the N2, which is the compressor section, fuel flow pounds per hour, oil temperature, oil pressure. These are your oil pressure gauges until the engines spin up, then they go to vibration gauges. And then you have all your ICAS stuff here, so you have your warnings, your cautions, you can page through those, your gear indications, your flap indications, those disappear once the gear's up and the flaps are up. Fuel quantity in your tanks and total fuel. And then you have your multifunction display here where you can step through pages. So let's see if I can find... So this is a good one here. And so like what I'm going to start to do at some point here is get into multi-pages. So like, for example, we have, so on this page right here, there's a button in the center console, or a panel in the center console with a bunch of buttons, and I can click through all these pages right here. So instead of having to have a panel for each one of these, I have one panel, I can click through the pages. So I have flight controls, fuel, hydraulics, anti-ice, AC electrical, DC electrical, my doors page, my ECS, which is... it's a bunch of things. It's your bleeds, it's your air conditioning. You have a bunch of information on there. And so that's multifunction display is something that's high on my list to do because it's pretty easy to step through the pages. And then, for example, if I want to look at my engine instrumentation, which frankly should always be up, that could be on my left panel here. And then your, like, so ideally, if I can get in there and do enough Lua here in the, in the not too distant future, I have a PFD here, and then you'll have your two panels essentially. So, you know, in this particular setup, you'd have your PFD here, and you probably have like your left side multifunction, your right side multifunction, and then might have an MFD in there for your map or your map page. But essentially, you'd be able to step through. You click a button, and you're like, okay, I want to look at my electrical system. And so instead of having electrical showing the battery voltage here and the you know, the charge discharge there, let me see if I can find a good picture that's high res of that page. Let's see. So I'm going to find the electrical page and see if I can show it to you. Because it's so when I need to, so like there are some times in flight that I need to look at, or on the ground that I need to look at the electrical page. Most of the time, I don't need to look at the electrical page. And so because of that, I can leave the page down. So like here's the AC electrical. So this is for alternating current systems on the plane I fly in. So when I'm doing things like, for example, like you see it's plugged into the ground cart here, right? So at some point, usually 10 minutes before the flight or earlier, we turn on the APU so the plane is making its own electricity so they can disconnect this. And so right now you see we have external AC, that's the cart, and it's connected. It's 400 hertz, 115 volts, and 18 kilovolts. And so and there'll be a light above us on the overhead panel showing green that says it's available, meaning that it has the right frequency, phase, and volts. And then we can push the button and use that. And so you can see it's used because the green line showing the flow of electricity. So bus 1, essential bus 2, and service bus are being powered by the cart. All right. And then you can switch over to APU. So when you start the APU up, the APU is going to come up and it's automatically going to take over electric, and I can push the button and disconnect this, and the line will go green from here, show these similar numbers here, and then this will auto disconnect. And so like when I want to look at electrical page, I can just bring it up. I can just bring it up when I'm ready for it. I don't have to have an overhead panel, so that saves me some overhead panel space. Let me see if I find more electrical stuff. I just deleted. Let's see if I can find like the DC. So like on the DC electrical page, let's see if I can find it in here. Okay, here's some. Trying to find the. Okay, here we go. It's not very clear, but it doesn't need to be very clear. So like here's a bunch of the pages. So you have, where's the DC electrical page? It's not showing the DC electrical page. He's gonna find DC electrics. God damn, I hate it when it does this. So like, for example, the whole reason I'm trying to get there is my battery voltages are shown on the DC electrical page, and most of the time I don't need a gauge blasting me in the face showing me what the DC electrical page is. I look at it a couple times, and then I don't need to look at it again. Trying to find something that I could show. Finding the DC electrical pages. It's on here, so you're not going to be able to see it. But right down here, there's two batteries. You have your APU battery and your main bat, and it shows the voltages of your two batteries. And it shows what's powering the DC electric system. But you don't need that all the time. So you would go through and you would actually click through your pages to do that. And so I'm trying to get to that at some point so that I can have like one screen that will show me electricals and then hydraulics. And so that's how it works in my planes. Like I don't constantly see two gauges above my head that show me hydraulic pressure. If I need to look at hydraulic pressure, I go to the hydraulic page and I look at the hydraulic pressure. I do have some simple digital fuel information in front of my eyes at all times. But if I want a more granular breakdown, I can go to the fuel page and I can look at things like fuel temperature, bulk fuel temperature, stuff like that. What pumps are on, what pumps are not on. And then like you see, I'm taking up 4 slots in the overhead panel here with ICAS indications. The way it works in my plane is when I have a caution, a warning, a status, or an advisory message, not necessarily in that order, actually not in that order, warning, caution, advisory, status, I would then, it pops up on a page and it's in different sections. And so it's like, it would go ding and I would see hide 3, low press. And so, okay, I've got a caution message, hydraulic 3, low pressure. It doesn't do a light. So that will help streamline some of this. So eventually I'll get to that. So let's count out the panels here. and I'm actually going to label them. So I recommend doing this, like, it helps out, is if you go ahead and here, we'll do it together. Let's actually do this again. If I do this, it will save the size for me. So like one thing you can do is go in here and label stuff and number stuff, especially if it's numbered. And so you can kind of put in what you want, just make a layer. And then we'll do Helvetica compressed. It's Helvetica compressed right there. And we'll do something I can see. So like this, airspeed. Did I not just make you green? No, I didn't. Oh, I'm trying to click on this color. Okay, let's do that. So like this here, let's go down to 100, and then like this here is going to be airspeed. This is DG down here. Attitude indicator, that's going to be altimeter. BSI. Turn. Slip. Let's do this. Turn, slip. And so that's those. And then I'm thinking here would be AP. Bearing panel there. And then this could be ICAS. Like this could be multi probably there. And then this could be like, part of the multi could be like cameras, especially on this one, I want some cameras. So like that will help clean that up. And then if we do this, let's see. And so like some things that would go into that multi, like all of this would be gone because this is all electrical information. So instead of me having to have a whole panel dedicated to like some very simple electrical information too, like I could put so much more of this on a page in a Lua page. I could have 20 different, not 20 necessarily in a one by one, but I could have say 6 readouts on there. So I could have 50% more in the same footprint. And then I could have like 10 electrical pages if I needed to, and then hydraulics, and I could have fuel as its own page. And so, for example, like right now, I only have 2 fuel gauges, my 2 fuel tanks, but if I put a pod on there, I have no place to read out the pod's fuel. And so what will happen is the fuel will go from, the tanks will stay full because it draws out of the tanks, and then it goes, the pod will then suck into the tanks. So the tanks will still be accurate. The pod should deplete fuel first. And so the pod should go first, and then so these won't go down in fuel at all. But if I use a fuel page on an MFD, then I could also, when I hook up the pod says how much fuel it has in it as well, which is another cool feature. And then that frees up, right there, there's 6 spots, 8 spots, 12 spots, put up for physicalized buttons that I want. Like right now I'm fighting for a place for my gear handle, So, all right, let's read some chat. Yeah, they have a good balance between realism and playability, and I don't even know if I would want the game to be quote-unquote more realistic. I like the balance now. I think it's pretty good. It doesn't need to be hyper-realistic all the time. I'll be right back. Like for example, this helicopter would not be able to go pick up containers if it was realistic. The containers would be way too heavy. You know, so I'm not even an advocate for full realism on some of that stuff, but you know, so I think they've struck a pretty good balance. You know, there's always areas where people are going to have, you know, commentary on whether they think that's enough realism or not. I think let's do this. I need to get that gear panel in, so let's do this. Let's make the gear control panel first. But yeah, this is a fantastic update they did the other day because it really cuts down so much space, and that's what gets real frustrating. I think is you'll make something that looks great and then realize you can't fit all the stuff into it, especially microcontrollers, and that gets real old real fast. All right, there's a gear panel here. Actually, we don't need to make a fresh gear panel. There's not going to be much to this, so what we can do is take this panel here that has a bunch of open spots, because literally all I need to do is send out... I don't have any gear doors. Like, normally I have gear doors, and so that takes up a bunch of space, but really all we need out is a number out. This is going to be gear. And that will read out the position of where the gear needs to go, because I'm not doing gear locks on this one. I'm not doing... it just doesn't need it. I don't need gear locks, and I don't need... Famous last words. I'm not doing gear doors, so I don't need all that. So let's stick that there. I need to rethink my interlinks. So let's talk about the systems of this really quickly here. So if we look at the systems here, we have the turbine. The turbine, it has a power takeoff off of it. So this is the pipe here connecting the turbine sections. And so you have power coming off of the turbine, and it goes through two clutches, one on this side and one on the other side for the other engine. Then they're combined. That goes up to read the RPS, then it goes into a clutch. This is the rotor clutch to either allow the rotor to spin or not. That goes up into a gearbox, and then that goes up into another gearbox to gear the rotor properly, and then this is a rotor brake. It's a looping two gearboxes. One goes backwards so we can stop the rotors. And so that's kind of the system. And so with the interlink, ideally what I don't want is so say I start one engine. I want to be able to run this helicopter one engine, and this is part of the fuel savings. And so let's say I'm going to move a container. So I'm going to fly from this airport over to the container. I don't need a ton of power because I'm just moving the helicopter itself. So I can run on one engine. Well, one engine running is going to burn X amount of fuel, right? Two engines burning is going to do X times 2 amount of fuel, right? It's going to burn twice as much fuel. And so to save fuel, I'll shut down, I'll go out on one engine, go over to get the container. Well, now let's say I need the power to pick up the container. So what am I going to do? Start the other engine. All right, so now I have two engines burning to go get this second container. All right, the container comes back. All right, I drop the container off. Well, now I'm going to fly back again, and I'm going to go get another container while I shut down an engine. Now I'm burning half as much fuel. So good fuel savings, right? The problem is, now, most of this is, doesn't really apply in game. Now, it's probably a tiny, infinitesimally small amount of power required for if I shut down this engine, it stops burning fuel. Yes, we get the fuel savings in game. But in real life, you're not pumping oil into that engine. You wouldn't want it necessarily spinning. Yes, they do free spin, but, I don't want it spinning the other engine. And I want to have to start the engine too. I don't want to just instantly come up and start. So part of that is I need a way to disconnect them, and I already have that. So part of it is when the fuel valve is off, it disconnects that interlinking clutch. I also have an interlinking button where if the button's not on, they won't do it, so that I can manually de-interlink. I don't really need that, so I'm going to get rid of that. So long, drawn-out conversation with that. Part of me talking through it, too, is just like getting it solidified in my head. So, like here we have the interlink clutch. Okay, interlink clutch is fine. What we don't need is the interlink button. And if we go look, I'm trying to free up 2 spaces. So I can do flight idle, and I can do the flight idle, and I can do the interlink. And so this is going to be gear position. All right, and so that was 19. 19 was flight idle. So what you generally have, well, not generally, but in some of these aircraft, you have a flight idle and a ground idle. And so when you're on the ground, you don't need that much power, right? So you would have a ground idle setting, and let's say it's 1 RPS, right? So all that is giving you enough power to go on the ground. You also don't want too much power because you don't want to taxi too much. You don't have to ride your brakes all the time, right? So so you run around in ground idle. Then when you're ready to go in the air, you would put it on flight idle. All right, let's look at that. All right, good. And so I'm changing that up so I don't really need it. What I'll do instead is I'll shut down an engine if I need to. Then we need gear position. I'm just going to fake this. It's going to be a little bit fake so I don't have to add stuff to it, but we'll go like this, and then we'll go. All right, so green is down and locked. Red is up, and that's going to be transit, nose, and mains. And again, like I showed you on Plane I Fly, that comes up on a screen and actually disappears because I don't need to know if my gear is up or down in cruise. It went up already. We know it's up already. It didn't just come down on its own. So we assume it's still up. We don't need to constantly be reminded that, yep, it's still up. So, all right, so that's gone now. Let's go ahead and we'll fix some of this. So what was it, 19 for 19 and 20. So here's 20. So 19 so this is 19 right here. So 19 is essentially when we were pressing this, it would ramp up from 3 RPS to 9. And what we're going to do instead is we're going to set a constant 9. I might change it where I can change my engine speed later, but for now, what we're going to do is just grab a constant number. Set flight idle at 9. That goes there, and that's going to take this out, and I don't need 19 anymore. We can leave it connected, it's fine. All right, so that's gone, and then the other one is the interlink. So part of the interlink was 19, which, or interlink here is 20, so just see where it's connected. So we'll see what this is. So right here, this is resetting the interlink to 0. And so there are 2 conditions that reset the interlink to 0. One is the fuel valve, and the other one is the if I press the interlink button. And so we have OR XY. That's fine. I don't need to, what's it going to be? That's going to be gear switch. That would trigger the, that. So let's just go and we'll do this. I don't need that. Let's just go like that. And then what's this one? And this is Zulu. And we'll get rid of Zulu. So this was also to allow the interlink to go. We needed the interlink button to be on, and now the interlink button is gone. So that works. All right, good. All right, so that all works now. What? Did I just saved that? Why is that not there anymore? Oh, I moved it. Okay. I forgot I moved it down a little bit. All right. All right, so that will go there. And then if we want to save some fuel, we'll just shut an engine off. We don't need to go from flight idle, ground idle. And then this here will go to there. This boolean here, NZ is gone. That's gone like that. And then we need to do one more. I think that should fix that up. All right, then we gain the gear, so we can go over here to this panel, which now has gear in it, and that is going to be, I got to read the position back out, which is fine, and then I need gear, so it's 1920. And I should probably make it so I can't put the gear up on the ground. So I would need a radio altimeter. So let's put that in. So I need a radio altimeter. Where the hell can I put a radio altimeter in here is the question. Because this is going to take a cargo pod. I need a radio altimeter. Need something that's clear. The wheel is right there, so I can't put a radio altimeter there. Radio altimeter could go, no. That's okay. Radio altimeter, no, can't go there either. Shiza. I put a radio altimeter right here. So put a distance sensor, and this is going to sense how close we are to the ground. All right, good. Let's spawn that. I just want to go get a reading off of it. It needs power. That's why it's not acting right. Where's my physics sensor there? All right. Let's go get a radio altimeter reading of where it's at. All right, so that's 0.8. So let's say if it's greater than 3 meters off the ground, you can't put the gear up until you're 3 meters off the ground. The problem is I don't want that to trigger when I'm... I don't want it to trigger when I'm trying to hook to a container and put the gear back down, so I gotta look at that. All right, so this is gonna be enabled 1 max on that to gear. So for right now, it's gonna be 20. And so what we could do is make it so that I could put 2 conditions here. So in order to raise the gear, we need to be 3 meters off the ground, and the switch needs to be triggered. And then if the switch is not triggered, the gear will come down, but it won't come down due to the rad alt, so that will work. And then if I need anything for rad alt here, we've got the number inputted on this panel, and it's looping through. So, all right, rad alt's right there for radio altimeter. Oops, stop that, you scoundrel, Scabrous dog. All right, let's see. So that's good, and then we want... So we'll say 3 meters for this. And then this is going to need an and. And that's just for gear retraction, so the gear won't automatically come back up. So like we're trying to go over a container, we don't want the container to trigger the gear to go down. If I put the knot here, that would happen. So by putting it here, that doesn't happen. So that's good. All right, that's good. Let's go ahead. We'll do a gear rotation. So we should go in there, and we should not be able to put our gear up on the ground because the radial altimeter is only reading whatever it's reading. You know, 0.8 meters. So if I go in and try to swing the gear, it's not going to do it. So you see the gear's not going to come up. Okay, now if we go in and we change this number here, so rad alt minimum gear traction is 0, I should be able to swing the gear on the ground. And no, I didn't hook them up. I don't think I hooked them up. Where are we at here? Can't see it. All right, gear. Yeah, I just didn't hook them up. All right, make sure there's a power. They should be powered. They're not. Okay. All right, so now we should be able to swing gear on the ground. Okay, what's up? If it's greater than 0, so it should be greater than 0. Let's look in there. And then gear. Gear's going to the 3 places there. Okay. I put the right one. 20. It's 20. So if 20 is on and the rad alt, I didn't hook up rad alt. That's what. I hook up rad alt. Rad alt. It's reading 0 though, so it should be fine with 0. Let's do a -1. Because it's not actually greater than 0. There we go. All right, so now so you have that in real airplanes, it's a squat switch, so it can tell if it's on the ground, if there's weight on wheels. And if there's weight on wheels, it doesn't allow you to, if there's weight on wheels, it doesn't allow you to put the gear up, so you don't end up in your belly. And then, all right, good. So that works. And so by putting that protection in there with the 3, we have to be 3 meters off the ground before it will let us put the gear up. So, all right, that's in there. All right, good. So that works. There is a way to make a display that has higher resolution than vanilla displays have. Oh, really? Rasmus, did you see the ones I made? I made an autopilot microcontroller, or an autopilot Lua panel. All right, good. So gear's in. I need to do the gear indication, which will be simple. So let's do. So if you don't know how radial works, I know most people here probably know, but so it's essentially if you put it on, you got some options here. So you can do bits, which I don't know anything about bits, but you can do either bits or on off. And so I'm doing on off. And so I'm selecting each one. It's 1, 2, 3. Is it? Trying to think, what is it, Rasmus? It would be okay. It's gonna be actually be shit. This is gonna be problematic. Yeah, it's gonna be problematic because I have oh shit. Because it's going to be starting at 19. So it'll be 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. This would make that 27. And then I don't have enough numbers for this. So this one's going to be a pain in the ass. I might make this an indicator so it's 1 light. Because this is going to take up 7 numbers. I don't want that. How do I do bits? Rasmus, do you know how to do bits on the radial? Number bits? I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure how to do number bits on this one because that's why it lit up this one red is because I flipped 20. And then if anything else was flipped like 21 over here, it would then light this one up. So that's not going to work how I normally do these. I could cut these out. So what do you have to do is if I did number bits, is there a way to do this where I'm not eating up all my numbers with numbered bits? Yeah, I'm just trying to see if I can. How's it going, Daniel? Yeah, I'm just trying to see if I can do it without that. For now, let's not screw with this for now. I don't want to get too far into it. So indicator on here will be, it'll be either green or not. And then I'll play with it later. Because that's normally how I do it. I don't want to disconnect this panel from the loop. The loop's working well. I don't want to screw with it right now. So I'm just going to do that for green there. And if the gear is down, it'll be green. Because it's going to be kind of faked anyway. So there's one thing I'd love the devs to add, RGB indicators. That would be fantastic in the panels, because like I could make it either red, yellow, or green. That would be awesome. All right, so let's go in here, and let's see. So just pretty much, I'm going to go off this. If this is... If that's 0, then the gear is down. And then where are we reading out here? The final right here. Pass through right there. All right, stop that, you scoundrel. Scabrous dog. All right, what's that? That is 18. And we would write that on 19, so we just need 2. Do that. And this goes up there like so, and that will now do that. Okay, that's good. All right, so now it'll be green when it's when they're down. It'll be green when they're down, and then when I click it up, which I put the 3 meters back in there, so it's not going to raise the gear, but that will then go out, so that's fine. Rotor brake is still good. That's looking good. All right, lights. We need to do lights, so let's go ahead and start lighting the sucker up. Save it again. one thing I like with this is doing, yeah, I was looking up real quick the binary of it. I'm just trying to think of a way to do it, and I think it's, the other thing too is, generally speaking, I like having that radial segment when it actually shows me what the engine's actually doing. So for example, if it's actually, its actual position, I'm not getting its actual position, so I don't really kind of care too much. Let's go ahead and, what was I going to do? What was I going to do? Lights. So let's put the lights on. So let's look up helicopter lighting. Helicopter lighting is just a touch different than planes, just where the beacons are and everything. I want to kind of find... So beacon top, bottom, navs are, still going to be the same positionings, essentially. I don't know what the yellow light is on the helicopter. Oh, I'm going to the FAA website. Oh, it's actually good. It's got pictures. I was going to say, half the time, they're absolutely horrific. It's probably standard, but I thought there was something different with... I'm not going to screw with different. I have lighting panels, so let's go... Aircraft lighting. So generally you'd have beacon top and bottom. So I'd have to do dual beacons here, which is fine. And then... turn the symmetry back on. All right, so dual beacons, and then they generally, helicopters will have a beacon on the bottom too, because they come down at you. I don't think I can put a light in there because of the collision of the wheel. All right, so beacons top and bottom like that. Okay, and then strobes, I'm thinking... I have something there, don't I? Right here should be fine. Or right here for strobes, I'm thinking. Yeah, that'll be good. That should be good. All right, let's color them up. So the way I remember is red, right, wrong. So red on the left. All right, then the lights should be hot bus so that you can, like, for example, I put on my nav lights. They do need some power, but oftentimes some of those lights, they're on the hot bus, so they're always powered. And then that can go plug into these as well, which is good there. All right, good. That's all plugged in. I hope this has strobes in it. I got beacon, strobes, cabin, and landing. I'm going to have to change some of this up. Let's see. Beacon, strobes, landing, and then cabin's gonna go to nav. Okay. And then this can be made smaller again by this one block, just by going like that. All right, and that's nav right there. And then we're gonna change the numbers up to match the panel. So wherever this panel goes out there is fine. And then let's look what we have here. We have nav, beacon, strobes, logo. I don't have a logo light right now. Landing, spots. All right. So nav, beacon. Count the numbers here. Nav's 23, beacon is 24. 23, 24. All right. 23. 24. So 25, 26, 27 should be strobes. 28 is logo, which I don't have right now, but I'll put one on there. I need to name this. '23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. 27 would be logo, I think. 21, 2, 3, 24, 25, 27, 28 is logo. 27, 28 is logo. 27 strobes. Okay. Logo's 28, then its landing is going to be 31, 32. 31, 32. I need spots added as well. This panel always gets big. That's the nice thing about doing pass-through is I really can go to any of these things and I can add it anywhere I have space. So if I needed another spot, I have it for the pass-through. All right, that's good there. See what this phone call was. I'm going to make a quick phone call, just mute myself and keep working. Actually, I'll do that. Thanks for looking, Rasmus. All right, done with my phone call. I'm gonna change up the rudders here so that I can change up the rudders here so that I can go ahead and put a logo on. Usually name after animals. I'm trying to think what this would be. Get the micros moved. Some sort of lifting bird. Let's see. And did I, of course, send the flight controls to something else? Yes. All right. All right, so that's good. Those are plumbed back in, and then I need to hook the yaw to them. Where are we at here? Stabilize yaw. Right there. All right, that's good. Those are plumbed in. Let's work a logo. Let's find an animal we like here. Vulture would be cool. Harpy eagle would be cool. Let me see. I love it how everything gives me a friggin' AI overview. I don't give a shit about AI. I really do not. Vulture's gonna be hard to do probably in the space that I have. Looking at some 8-bit vultures, trying to see the space-wise. And let's play with it. Yeah, we only have really 4 blocks unless I push this back one. Yeah. I could do the head in there. The fuck? Yes. I'm trying to see, I need like a simple 8-bit. That's kind of cool. It's tight space for a vulture. The feathers are a pain in the ass to get. Put a little color in there. I'm not thrilled with what's going on here, but just trying to like get the colors kind of going a little bit so I can kind of see what the general shaping is going to be like. If I can tell like the different shapes I'm trying to put in here. Probably like right now it's too compact at the moment. Kind of tell. Feet probably like in a grayish color. Yeah, I need a better Harpy Eagle would be cool. I think it's fitting. I'm trying to find a good 8-bit Harpy Eagle. Like the Harpy Eagle is very much like I could do the face of a Harpy Eagle. That might work out better. Let's play with Harpy Eagle. Vulture would be cool for something, but I don't. Vulture's just like Vulture's with the long neck and like a lot of facets. See if I can get just like the Harpy Eagle face would be kind of cool. It's got like the feathers of the head. Let's try like a light gray. Oh, stop, you scoundrel. Scabrous dog. Let's see. Problem is the Harpy Eagle's got a lot of like feather detail in the hair. Beak there. Yeah, I don't like just doing the face though. That's gonna be a problem. Not a fan of just doing the face. I want kind of the whole body. Could try doing just the Harpy Eagle face looking at us. Let's try that. Let's do. Start with the eye. Oh, fuck off. It looks dozy. putting on the angry music. I don't need that right now. I need to shift this downs. That's not good. There's so much feather detail in the crown of the harp eagle. It's like tough to get the feather detail in there. Like, this is my favorite I've done so far. Like, but it's like not. I think my best drawing I did was the chickadee. That came out really good. The face is alright. I like a full body though. That's part of the problem. I can't get the details of the harp eagle's face enough. So like, I'll show you a reference picture. Kind of like, it's just like there's so much face detail I need in there to make the harp eagle look right. So like this is the one I was, where did it just go? How did it go? I just had it up there. When I moved screens, it changed where the picture, this one right here was the one I was kind of using as reference. I could call it the Talon and do a good picture of a Talon. That's an option. That's kind of fitting because it's, it's lifting, picking things up, the Talon. So that's kind of, could play with that. Like if it had like a yellow beak, like a bald eagle, then I think it had more contrast for that. But let's see. 3 toes. Four toes total. I don't know why my headset shut itself off. That's looking terrible. Let's see. Change the aspect of this a little bit. So let's go some brown. And we'll do the ankle. Stick it up. Yes. There we go. It's too far. That's too brown. Here's the kind of the leg. Alright, from the leg, let's go the feathered part of the leg, and then we've got the having detail problems with the size of my space. Four blocks is pretty tight for this. I already have one called the seagull. Raven would be alright. I have an owl. Could do another owl, type of owl, because I have night owl. Pigeon would be kind of cool to do a pigeon. I have canary. Duck is best suited for a seaplane. An owl I can do just the face is helpful. I can knock together an owl, especially if I can do it in 4 blocks and get rid of this block here. Because I don't have a horn owl, I have night owl, which is a very specific thing. So I need to get the horn in. I could probably put part of this horn up here. Because if it's going to be a horn owl, it needs the horn. There we go. Yeah, it doesn't have horns, it's the feathers up top. But a little bit of a brighter brown there. We can always do color swaps later, but I just need to kind of get the coloration going. Kind of a gold eye on there. Kind of brighter. I think it's going to be real hard to do a full bird, so I think it's better to do what I'm doing kind of now and do a face. The vulture actually I like the vulture if I get it working, but it's being tough. Alright, let's take a look. Owl face isn't too bad. The Harpy Eagle's alright. Like, the Harpy Eagle didn't turn out terrible. Got the face of it. He's got the menacing ass eyes. The vulture actually doesn't even look too bad either. Shit. I'm trying to think what I like. The vulture is actually looking alright. Let me redo the toes of the vulture. I'm kind of liking the vulture. I'm going to save them all for the inevitable later use. But let's see. Let's go. Then we'll do black toes there. And the pink, let's... Why is it... I don't know. What are our thoughts here? The Harpy Eagle actually doesn't look too bad. Put a little outlining in the Harpy Eagle. The Vulture's not too bad either. Put a little outline in the Harpy Eagle. Harpy Eagle looks nice and menacing. I kind of like that. Kind of digging the Harpy Eagle. Yes, I have all the DLCs. Yep. Let's put a little detail in the Harpy Eagle. See if I can add a little bit of touch of detail on that. I'll switch my wash here in a second. Yeah, I'm leaning towards the Harpy Eagle. I'm gonna save these up. Yeah, I'm leaning towards the Harpy Eagle myself. The Vulture's cool. I like the Vulture, but it's not the easiest to because like I have to get the feather detail. Like they're kind of always hunched up, so it has to get hunched up, and then the Harpy is showing off its face. But Harpy is definitely more menacing looking. And I can always work on to make them better too. So it's like I just want something in there. Kind of get a naming scheme going. That's the spotlight. Where's the logo? Why are the nav lights not plugged in? I can get rid of one of the indicators too for that. Why did I just put? Okay, that's good. Why do I have two navs? What the hell? Nav. Why is that nav? Oh, I have two navs. Scheiße. Oh, I know why. Okay. That's actually helpful. Alright, we'll take that out. Okay, that is spotlight. That's to come. Nav lights. Landing lights. Strobes. Logo lights are all lit up. Right. Strobes working. Nav lights working. Harpy's not lit up, which it shouldn't be. That's fine. It's got to be electrified anyways. I don't like how square it is, though. It turns square in the frame. Because, yeah, it's squared out. I don't like that. Shit. Yeah, I don't like how it's squared out in the frame. Just like the space-wise is not great here. Yeah, I might go to Vulture because it's just... I don't like how it's squared out in the frame there. Change the colors of the Vulture a little bit. See what that does for me here. I have a second Vulture, so I'm going to work on this one. Trying to brighten the colors up a little bit on the, or I say brighten the colors in the Vulture a little bit, but like, detail this up just a touch here. Curve that beak just a little bit more, and the beak needs to be grayed out, I think. That, maybe... Stop. Alright, let's see. Let's go... That color's not bad, but I want to just brighten it up a little bit. Trying to get a little more contrast in there. And then this color needs to be browned up a little bit more. That's great. Of course, the one that fell on its side. You sucker, you. Yeah, I'm kind of digging the vulture. Let's put that in. Alright, that's plumbed in. Alright, I like the vultures looking good. The belly pad needs to be changed a little bit there for the belly. Probably needs to be just a touch darker. Vulture's looking pretty good. Get that belly pad down just a little bit there. Yeah, something's sticking out. I gotta move. I hate it when it does this. Okay, let's go ahead and start working this. That's better. Okay, good. 65. 20. Let's see. About 70. Ah, you sucker. Alright, the vulture looks pretty good. I like the vulture. And I gotta turn it on, see what it looks like turned on. See if there's any spots I need to fix. Is it on? I need to hook it back up. Alright. But, please. I gotta take a phone call again. Stand by. All right, belly outline, feet need color. Light color, lighted color. Put it that way. All right, so it's coming along here. I don't know if the outline's going to take with this low of a color volume, but that's fine. I'm happy with the final product there, and then it'll pop a little bit more once the background colors change, because the neck just kind of matches in with it. But that will change. Let's turn it on. All right, that looks good. I like the vulture. All right, put it in. I'll save the other ones just for put them somewhere. All right, good. Jesus. All right, stand by. All right, guys, I'm gonna have to finish up the stream. Thanks for watching. Sorry about it. I'm gonna finish it right away here. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you're new and you enjoyed it, consider subscribing. I'll see you guys next one. Bye.